Hello and welcome to this free webinar on the teenage years, a controversial topic. We will be looking at the science behind the attitude, risk-taking and emotional roller coasters. And then, here and there we will feed in, or I will feed in some strategies for parents and professionals. So I am Lisa Jaskula from Jaskula Mentoring. I'm the founder of Jaskula Mentoring and the director of Jaskula Mentoring. At Jaskula Mentoring, we support children and young people who are going through some tough and challenging times. Right, let me begin with our contents. So I'm going to start off with a nice gentle welcome. Why are teens like that? I think that question comes into our minds quite a lot. The science of teen behavior. I need to move my screen because I've got another screen where I can see everything, or should be seeing everything. Then we will be looking at the nervous system and emotional regulation, the impact of molecules of emotion. Then we will be looking at the 4 stages of teen development. Yes, it's not straightforward. Even teen development comes in stages. Regulation strategies for teens, the window of tolerance, boundaries and lying, why it takes 500 repetitions to learn a new skill. Yes, it does. Strategies for parents and professionals. And at the end, there will be a Q&A and our final thoughts. Right, let's begin. So, what's the most teen thing a young person has ever said or done to you? Take a moment to reflect. As you're watching the recording, just pause for a moment and think, what is the most teen thing that a young person has done to you? I have a few, but also sometimes I have to be very honest. My inner teen comes out too. So, maybe notice occasionally when your inner teen comes out, especially when we're communicating with our teens, with the teens around us, the teens that we're working with, somehow that trigger or can trigger teen behavior within us. Right, why are teens like that? So the brain is under construction, right? Different regions develop in different rates. So, sometimes when you see a teen sitting like this, slouching down, and kind of like nothing is happening, and they're not doing anything, one thing we need to remember is that their brains are doing a lot. There is a lot going on. Just remember that. Emotions over logic. In our last webinar on understanding trauma and behavior, I spoke about the different regions in the brain and how they're being developed, and how I will go through this again. So emotions over logic, the limbic system acts quicker than the prefrontal cortex. Okay, the prefrontal cortex doesn't stop developing until the mid-20s. Okay, the prefrontal cortex is here. It's there for decision making. It's there for planning. It's there to think logically and actually be rational in the heat of an argument. But when we take the brain model, the hand model coined by Dr. Dan Siegel, we have our prefrontal cortex here, for the thinking. Then we have our limbic system, which is our emotional center. And here we have our brainstem, okay? When we get reactive, when our emotional center gets like fired up and says, oh, everything is too much and somehow it feels dangerous, it goes here first, the message. It just says like, we've got to survive, run away, fight, something like that, okay? So it takes a moment longer to get this back engaged and say, oh, okay, it was just someone requesting to empty the dishwasher. So that's what happens. Instant gratification rules. Yes. Immediate rewards, long-term consequences, not so important. Because, hey, if you can have the reward right now, why not have it right now? So these are aspects that we need to consider. It's just how the brain functions. They just got to have that reward system going on, to kind of like keep life nice and sweet. So the science of team behavior. I need to move the screen again. So as the brain matures, one thing that happens is the pruning of the synapses. Synaptic pruning does not occur willy-nilly. It depends largely on how any one brain pathway is used. Okay. Synaptic pruning is a fascinating topic, to be honest. And it happens massively in the teen years. And that's something also worth talking about with your team, to be honest, just so they know what's happening in their brain. So if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And what I mean by that is when I was 14, I went on a language exchange in France. I was able to talk about politics. I was fluent in French, well, pretty fluent. If you can talk about politics, then, you're doing quite well. Did I carry on using it for the rest of the time of my teens? I did not. So when I went to France again 10 years later, I can just about manage ordering un café au lait, s'il vous plaît. Yeah, just a coffee. That's it. And that's my real life example of if you don't use it, you lose it. So what happens in the teenage brain is there's a massive clear out, right? Not going to be used, chuck it, chuck it, chuck it. Everything needs to get out. We just need to focus on the things that are being used. So just think about, keep that in mind when you communicate with your teenager. Tell them that this is what's going to happen. Of course, our brains are malleable. Yeah, we can learn things again when we're adults. But as adults, we know how long it takes to learn a new skill. And it gets harder the older we get and the busier our lives get, and we don't have that much time anymore, right? So make sure if your teen thinks that they want to carry on playing piano or, I don't know, speak a language later on, if that would be useful, keep using it because the brain will make sure that line stays connected. Dopamine rush, the instant gratification. Teens seek novelty, and novelty gives you like a nice, dopamine rush. We know that. We get excited, something new is happening. The risk awareness, however, sort of like goes a little bit, it's less important. We can't focus on everything, right? If the brain is just under construction, it's like, well, there's something shiny in front of me, let's go there. And they have a heightened stress response. Again, it's that quick connection, our emotional response center, okay? So the thinking part is not as developed as our thinking part. The only thing we can do is lend them our thinking brain. So the nervous system and emotional regulation. You've probably heard of fight, flight, and freeze. Yeah, that's why teens react impulsively to stress. Fight, flight, and freeze. Yeah, it gets activated down here. Again, the connection is quicker down here. It's like, boom, I'm storming out of the room. I'm going to slam the door. And then I'm going to go off. And I'm not really sure what happened because I can't think about it. That's it. Then we have the sleep deprivation crisis. What's happening there? So the whole sleep rhythm is changing in the teenage years. They start to become night owls. They're starting to stay up later, but then the schools expect them to still get up really early and do their thing and concentrate and behave whilst their brain is doing lots of things. Obviously, nowadays there's screens, the blue light. So if there are clear boundaries on sleep time, of not having the phone in the room, that will support them immensely. Sleep is super important. Remember, their brains are doing a lot. It doesn't look like anything because we can't see it, but a lot is happening. Then the pressures to succeed in school can also add to the sleep deprivation, lying in bed worrying, going into the spiral thoughts, and then high emotional and cognitive load. So having to remember all the things, doing homework, practicing for a test, then, maybe they're like after school activities that they need to remember and plan, and meeting with friends, and, oh, I've made a promise here. Remember, the prefrontal cortex is not fully developed. This is going to send anyone into overwhelm. And we know how heavy the mental load can be. Now, add the mental load on something that is already working in overdrive. Exercise and brain health, right? We know that exercise boosts the mood and memory, learning, anything, just kind of like make sure we focus on that, and then we can help with emotional regulation. Later on, we will talk about how emotional regulation can be regulated through physical activity. Just move my book. The impact of molecules of emotion, which is something like Candace Pert wrote a whole book around it. So neuropeptides and emotions. Emotions are physically stored in the body through neuropeptides, which act as messengers between the brain and body. They link emotional experiences with physiological responses, influencing mood, stress levels, and overall well-being. We just need to think when, we're sad, like the whole body reacts. When we're anxious, we can feel it, we're feeling sick, we get sweaty hands. It is in the body. Our emotions are happening in our body. Repeated emotional experiences create response patterns that shape behavior over time. So keep a lookout for patterns, behavioral patterns and emotional patterns, and then see how you can work with the team to change these patterns. So why stress feels overwhelming. So the intense reactions to the teen brain amplifies stress responses. Again, it is all about survival. Their brain is under reconstruction. So the brain is saying, like, hang on, we're busy here. Survival is now even more important. And we're developing new neural pathways. We're checking out what can be chucked. So just the most tiny thing can be super stressful. It's like, hey, hang on, just again, think about when you are most stressed, when you think about how you need to go to the dentist, take the trash out, mark all these books of the kids you're working with, then you need to go shopping, and it's all in your head, and someone asks you, what's for dinner? A very simple question, but you blow up. Okay, that's a similar thing for them. Just they don't even know it, that this is happening. Neither, does everyone else, because it is invisible. But if we can inform our teenagers that this is what's happening, it could be really helpful. They might feel seen. Social sensitivity, peer judgment feels more painful. That's a really, really big one. It's so important to be accepted by your peers, but what I find really, really paramount to remember is that social isolation activates the same area in the brain that activates physical pain. So peer rejection will be felt as physical pain. It is literally painful. Please remember that. We can't just brush it off. We have to treat it like physical pain. Be there, be soothing, all that, okay? And then delayed recovery, harder to calm down after distress. Yeah, the curve is not like this. It's like, oh, come on, please come back. Are you ready to talk yet? But I'm here. Tools for regulation. So you can teach your team breathing techniques, although, sometimes they're not the most receptive to it, saying like, oh, we can do some starfish breathing. But what you can do is model your way through stressful situations, showing that you need to breathe. Maybe you model that you're meditating or journaling, anything that brings you back into the body, you model it, but you can also talk about like, oh, it really helps me when I feel a little bit nervous or anxious, to just have a slow, deep breath. And just kind of like talk them through what you're doing. And they might just see it, they might roll their eyes and then walk off and think like, oh God, that's stupid. However, it will stick somewhere and eventually they might come around to it, and just do it when you're not looking. Mindfulness, journaling, meditation, that doesn't even need to be like that. Some people say, oh God, I'm not one for meditation. It can be just going out and noticing everything around you. Okay. It's, you can do things, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, noticing everything in your environment. What can you see? What can you smell? What can you hear? What can you... Now I have to remember all the senses. What can you see? What can you hear? What can you feel? What can you see, smell, and taste? That's it. Oh, got there in the end. There are different ways of doing mindfulness, and it's more about learning being present in the here and now. It is more to make time and say, oh, wow, look at the shapes of the trees. I love the patterns they make when the trees have gone. It's noticing the clouds, what shapes they're doing. I know that sounds, like it just sounds so simple, but it's like the more you practice doing it, the more it will become a habit. It's like, smelling the tea, blowing it, anything like that, just really cherishing the moment that you're in right now. Social connection is a big one. It's all about the relationships we have with others and knowing that we're not alone. So, whenever the moment is there, just drip, feed moments of connection, and keep inviting them to the shop, keep inviting them to wherever you're going, even if they say no every single time, even if they roll their eyes because, oh, why are you so annoying, just leave me alone. When they're out of that phase, they will look back knowing their parent always wanted them. Okay, it's really, really important. And who doesn't want to be wanted? Okay, but also there might be that one day where they say, yeah, all right, I'm coming with you. And you'll be surprised. And the same in school, that just find moments to invite them, show them that you want them. Just the beauty of relationships. So let's carry on the impact of molecules of emotion. So the body and the mind are not separate, and we cannot treat one without the other. So I mean, I imagine when you've been trying to talk to your teen about the anger or their frustrations or anxieties, they don't want to talk about it. It's like, just don't talk about it, because they can't. Again, the prefrontal cortex is just not there. But what I really like to think about, and as you can see over here, emotion is nothing more than energy in motion, okay? Energy, motion. Just keep that in your mind when you work with teenagers or with your teenager at home. It is energy that's going through the body. It just needs to happen. It needs to happen. It just needs to go through, okay? And when you look at the picture here with all the different colors in the body, you can see the energy there. You can see emotion in the body on a heat map. I think it's fascinating. But then you see that you can work with the body. And I often, when I work with children and young people, I often just work with the nervous system. I work with their body, really trying to tune into how their nervous system, what the energy is like, working with that energy. And how can we get it out of the body without having to talk over this over and over again? Because sometimes we just don't need to talk. Sometimes we just need to run out of our system, or sometimes we just need to lie down and just arrive back into our bodies. Whatever is needed, they need to start feeling safe in their bodies. So next time you see a flare up, like look, with anger, you can have all the heat in the head and the chest. You want to scream it out, okay? The fists, look at the fists. I mean, they're glowing. And well, the feet a little bit, not so much, but ready to fight, right? Fear, again, it's like, oh, maybe freeze, I don't know, right? Disgust needs to go, it needs to come out. Happiness, look, the whole body is nice and warm. And it's the face. And look how softer it is compared to anger. Anger's got like a tight ball there. But happiness, it's just sort of like a fluffy warmth in the chest. Anyway, just pause it and take some time to look at that graph. I think it's just mind-blowing. The 4 stages of teen development. Here we go. So we have the pre-teen, 11 to 13. It's all about who am I and where do I belong? And if so, how many am I? So what do they want? They want to be feeling welcomed and known, create safety and discovering something new. They're ready to get out into the world, but they want to come back. So as the adult in the room, you can be the harbor of safety, where they can return, where they know they can go to and say like, oh no, I've messed up. I've just, I wanted to discover something new and it didn't go so right. Can I come back? And you be there ready to receive them with open arms. So they want to be connected. They need you to be supportive. And they kind of need you to respect their autonomy. So as you are by their side and you watch them go further, as you have done like when they were a toddler, it's a similar thing, right? They can walk, they want to discover, and you sort of see them still. You might not physically see them, but you see them with your heart, yeah? Like when they come back and, oh no, they've climbed up this branch like they did as a toddler, and then they didn't know how to come back down, and maybe they've tumbled off. You receive them with open arms. Now, as a teenager, the problems might look a little bit different, but our response should be the same. Then exploring interdependence. Now we're testing boundaries and pushing limits, just like as a toddler, right? But now the teenager just wants to find their own voice. They will figure out who they are within others and what the power is within relationships. They will play around with problem solving and decision making. But remember, it's developing. There's another 10 years of that prefrontal cortex to be finished. And they're now going to figure out what's the inner world like, what's the outer world like, and how can we put this all together. So it's again, just being curious about your teen, asking questions, open questions, being reflective, and really just showing them that you also think about your inner world and the outer world and how it comes together, playing around with your values, you know, just really, it's all about modeling. For us adults, it's so often just about modeling and be a really, really, really positive role model. Then we've got practicing. 15 to 18, strengthening the identity and managing challenges. So it's becoming a better friend to yourself. And I suppose we could all do with that a bit more. And if we can support our teens to do it, then I think we path them a really, really good way into the future. If they can hold their own hands, oh, that would be beautiful. And we can support them to be creative in developing the world. What, developing the world? Yeah, maybe as well, but also discovering the world. So again, you are just the safe harbor where they can return to, and you're being curious, flexible, open, and steady as a rock, right? And then 18 to 25, they're finding their independence, they're flying, you know, building confidence. So now you can support them if they want to, you know, break free into the world, trusting them. Trust is a big one. So as they're securing their interdependence, you are still there to support them. You know, they still need you because that brain, that prefrontal cortex is still not finished. So just always remember that even when your teens are legally adults at 18, their brains are still not fully developed. Okay. I think that's an important one to remember. So regulation strategies for teens, physiological regulation, you know, movement, sleep, food. We know that emotions are in the body, physically, literally in there. So we can help our teens through actively supporting the physical health. And even when they're distressed and everything is all blah, work with the body first. Work with silence first, then the body, then the relationship. Like, hey, how you doing? It's nice to see you. I've missed you today. Fancy going to the cafe later? You know, oh, could you help me dry up the dishes? And then, because you don't need to look at each other, you can talk, you can feed, drip feed some moments of conversation and, you know, or just open questions, see where they're at. They might just open up themselves, you know, low pressure makes so much possible. And then cognitive regulation. That's the thing that you can do once you've done the other two bits. Always work from the bottom up. You can, out of the heat of the moment, you can talk about critical thinking, problem solving, and self-reflection. It's about just talking about different situations. You can even make up some that have a similar issue to what you've been going through. Hypothetically, guiding your team to the right answers, but so that they actually feel that they found the answers themselves. Because who wants to be told what to do? Who wants to be given a solution? And what you can also do, if you're working with a team or they're your own team, you can ask them, once they open up to a problem, you can ask them, do you want me to listen or do you want advice? Most of the time, it's actually just listen, because, like once we kind of like offloaded everything, we know the answer ourselves. We all have the wisdom in ourselves, but we just need to get rid of the clutter, just let it all out. And then you have the answer yourself. And what's more empowering than knowing that you can get to the answer yourself? The window of tolerance. Some of you may have come across the window of tolerance. It's a useful tool to just remember that we have a window of tolerance. And sometimes we are hyper aroused where everything is too much and we just want to fight and we want to have an argument and throw things around and, throw doors closed. And sometimes we are hypo aroused when I just can't get out of bed. I don't want to do anything. Blah. So what can stretch our window of tolerance is self-care, mindfulness, doing something you like, your hobbies, being out in nature. Whew, big one. Journal, therapy, movement, just kind of like getting back into your body, grounding, feeling even just feeling the ground underneath your feet and really just noticing the support works wonders. So many little things. It doesn't need to be so complicated. Music, have a little kitchen dance party. Actually, dancing, there's something I would like to say to that. Deep breathing and social support. With dancing together especially, is something really quite magical and will support your relationship. And the beautiful thing is, you put on some music, put music on that your teen likes, or, like have a mixed playlist, and you dance together. But what happens, and pay attention to that, your bodies start mimicking each other. The rhythm starts to, like sort of get in tune with each other. The way you move, you mirror each other. And mirroring is such a relational tool. And really, maybe make an effort to pick up some of your team's moves. And it will feel good. There is something really magical about the dance. It's really connecting. It's there to support connection. Then when you look on the other side, what can shrink our window of tolerance is sleep deprivation. And teens are going through that. Stress, think about school and all the pressures. Trauma, yeah, things can happen. Physical illness, anxiety. So many people are suffering of anxiety. So many teens are suffering from anxiety. So poor nutrition. And we do know what teens crave the most, right? Junk food. So pay Pay attention to that. Pressure. Come on, tidy up your room. Take out the rubbish. Empty the dishwasher. And oh, social acceptance. Like wear the coolest clothes. I don't know. I can't think of anything right now. But just think about all the pressures that are mounting onto them. Shrinks, right? Grief, loss, pain, and rejection. You know, pain and rejection, same area in the brain. So, what does dysregulation look like when you're hyper-aroused? You're just feeling more frustrated and agitated, irritated, and you just want to explode. Or if you're hyper-aroused at the bottom, you're just zoning out and feeling lethargic. Okay? And then obviously each way can just go more extreme. Think about the window of tolerance. But in this context, I snuck in just another slide because the polyvagal theory, some of you may have come across it, is really useful to look at here. Because I think this is a bit more useful when you have the social engagement. That's when we're in our window of tolerance, okay? Where we experience joy, we can be present, everything is easy. You know, we're curious about the world. We can actually have empathy for others, okay? However, usually we just start off with flight or fight rather than going into hypo. This is hypo-aroused and this is hyper-aroused, okay? But why I want to show you this is that as we get frustrated or angry, this is just the first step here. We can make this curve small by working with the body. Yeah, get that frustration out. Or if we carry on and we're not making space to regulate in that moment, it gets more extreme and we're shutting down. Okay, we're going to freeze. We're just like, no, what's the point? I've tried, I've fought, right? Like, no one likes me. I'm stupid. There's nothing to be done. Ugh. And then here, in order to come back down, it's not like, okay, so now up and numb, and oh, now I can feel joy again. You have to go through the flight and fight system again. So the teams you're working with that, you know, maybe avoiding school, they can't get out of bed, you know, they're depressed, or, you know, then there's like that whole moment of nothing is working, I can't do anything. If you suddenly get into fight and flight, don't be too worried. Just notice that this is happening. They're coming back into life. Their reason to fight for something is coming back. This is a good thing. This is a really good thing. Okay. It's more uncomfortable, of course. No one wants to have like the rage monster. It's a good thing though, because now you can work with the body. You know, you can get the energy out, you can channel it in healthier ways, and then you come back to experience the beauty of life. I just love this graph. Boundaries and lying. Why teens push boundaries? So they're testing their independence and the control. Okay, boundaries help them explore limits while feeling secure. Toddlers did the same. And hopefully, you know, you kind of like, as they were growing up, you kept putting in boundaries here and there. And someone once gave this lovely metaphor of, is it a metaphor? Yeah. When you're sitting in a roller coaster and they put those well, they're securing you. Can't think of the words now, but they're securing you, and you feel like, whoa, okay, we're going to go like doing the loop-de-loop. I'm going to be upside down. You want to make sure it's safe, right? Because are you sure I'm safe? And you are kind of like pushing it. First, you pushing it gently, and then you kind of like really pushing it just to really make sure that you're really going to be safe, because, you know, is it really going to hold me? That's what teens doing. That's what children are doing. They're all doing it. So what do we need to do? Be safe with our boundary, okay? Yeah, let them rock it. It's fine, but you can stick with your boundary. So how to set effective boundaries? It's being firm. It's being clear. It's being consistent and respectful, okay? You don't need to be threatening. It doesn't need to be like a punishing tone. It's just clarity, you know, just really clearly communicating what you're expecting, what needs to be done. And that's it. It's a statement. Done and dusted. Strengthen them with understanding and open communication rather than strict control. Makes sense, right? And don't be a hypocrite. What do I mean by that? Well, don't expect teens to do things that you can't do yourself. So if you say to your teen, hey, only 1 hour of screen time a day, are you doing it? Are you? I mean, are you? Because I think we've got to be fair there. If you can do it and model it and be by the side of your teen. If you expect your teen to eat an apple every day, are you? Model that behavior, model the desired behavior, and you can have these expectations with a clear conscience. Why teens lie? To avoid getting into trouble. Of course, they don't want to be punished. But also, they don't want to be a disappointment, because if you're a disappointment to others, you're going to be rejected, and that's going to be painful. So they're just keeping themselves safe. Seeking approval, exaggerating a little bit here and there, wanting to fit in, being, you know, like impressive to their peers. Look at me, and you can definitely not reject me because I'm so cool, right? Because rejection would be so painful. And they want to test their limits, exploring their autonomy, you know, they want to figure out what their personal boundaries are. So that's part of the process. Now let's encourage honesty. Trust is a good one. You know, respond with curiosity, not straight away with a punishment of like, why did you do it? What I also really like is there are different ways of how you can make sure that your trigger doesn't get triggered straight away and you go all like, you have time to think and get this back down, so you can respond to your teen with curiosity or not immediate punishment. So what some people do is they have a little note in a drawer that says, this is a little promise to you that whenever you give this to me, I promise I will not lose it. They come up to you, they give you that little token, you take it, and you're already activating your prefrontal cortex, you're activating what, you know, you're breathing, you're grounding, and you know exactly you've got to keep a cool head. There's also another way of building trust and making sure that you can respond in the best way possible, is by having a personal book, a parent-child book or a teacher-child book. You can either have it under a pillow or obviously in the classroom, where they can say whatever they want to say. Sometimes it can be just like, oh, I love you, or I went for a walk with my pet, or I want to dye my hair blue, or whatever. But it gives a good chance to communicate without the immediate confrontation, which will feel safe for your team. It will also feel safe for you because you have time to ponder and think. And there's a nice process in writing by hand. It's therapeutic, by the way. So you'd be both journaling without knowing that you are journaling. Well, no, you don't. Model honesty. Show them truthfulness in your own actions. Own up when you mess up. Ever messed up? Yes. Own up. Show how you handle it. Show how you communicate it and how you rectify it. Just, take ownership in this. Allow do-overs. Give them chances to correct lies without shame. I know shame is an easy one to get into. Just stop yourself. Take a deep breath and remember they're trying their hardest, because no kid ever wants to be bad. I promise you that. They just want to be accepted. So it's just the whole brain kind of doing its weird thing. So why it takes 500 repetitions to learn a skill? Repetition builds mastery. The brain rewires, with consistent practice. Remember, it's ready to do it like a crazy clear out. So you really got to focus on the repetitions to keep that line going. Not just once, but keep it going, so that the brain doesn't think like, okay, used it once, so maybe not that important. Get rid of it. Patience is key. Teens need the support and not just correction. No one wants to be corrected. No, guidance, yes. We hate being corrected, right? I mean, I know that I don't like it. Like, that's when my inner teen comes out and I get a bit rebellious. And encouragement matters. Be the cheerleader by the side. Yeah, knowing learning is a process, right? Learning takes time. And punishment just sets us off here, and then that goes even further away. Yeah, this is like not even fully developed. And if we come with punishment, pooh, thinking is definitely not going to happen. And learning, not happening. Strategies for parents and professionals. Be the lighthouse, not the storm. Stay calm, okay? It's a chaotic time. It's a frustrating time. But if you manage to ground yourself in these moments and stay calm and don't respond, you know what your teen's going to do? They're going to have their little, they walk off, they want to be alone, they're going to steam and bubble up a little bit. And then they might just suddenly think, no, mum, dad, my teacher, really stay calm. How annoying. If you respond or react, I mean, respond is fine, but if you react with also like a fiery kind of response, you know what's going to happen, right? They're just going to focus on your behavior. It doesn't matter that everything that happened before was probably their behavior. They're now focusing on yours. And you've suddenly given them more ammunition to carry this out even more wildly. If you stay calm, they've got nothing to grab. Provide stability, be steady, reassuring presence when emotions run high. Guide and don't control. Offer direction without forcing outcomes. Don't do it in the heat of the moment, though. Wait till, you're washing up together or something. Stay grounded, both feet on the ground, and stand firm. You can do this. Timing is everything. Be patient. Teens talk when they're ready, not when you are. Yeah? Let them be ready. Car rides and late nights, unstructured moments invite deep conversations. Make room for that. Invite them to go shopping, in the car together. Again, it's also not face to face. It's you're sitting next to each other and you can avoid eye contact, which can be sometimes kind of uncomfortable, right? Especially when you're talking about the tricky things. Consistency over pressure, small, frequent check-ins work better than a forced talk. Yeah. So just check in here and there. How's it going? How's it going with your friends? Melly and Pete, and and show real curiosity as well. Validating over fixing. Listen first and let them express without jumping to solutions. Just listen. Again, you can offer if they want advice or just be listened to. They will tell you. Acknowledge the feelings, reflect back the emotions to show understanding. So you can just say, oh, this sounds really frustrating, or oh, were you embarrassed in that moment? Or, you must have been really excited for this to happen. Da, la, la, la. Just make sense of what's going on. Just mirror back what you hear. Support over solutions. Offer guidance, but let them find their own answers. I told you earlier, right? Let them get to their own answers. Let them do the blah. Everything comes out, and suddenly they can see the glowing light of wisdom in themselves. Right, any final thoughts? Take a moment, take it all in, leave comments underneath. I would love to hear everything you've taken away from this. What was the biggest takeaway, and what is one actionable step that you will do from this session today? What is something you will do? I would love to hear that. Really, really, really. And just remember, you don't need to be perfect, but you need to be present. Just be present. No one needs perfection. It doesn't even exist. So let me know what you think. I really want to hear your thoughts. And if you manage to get all the way to this point, do tell me what other topics you would like to hear another webinar on. Thank you so much for attending. And I'm wishing you the most wonderful rest of the day, rest of the weekend, rest of the week, whenever you're watching. Thank you for attending. Stop the recording. Oh, no. Well, thanks for still being here. It's not, now it is working. And bye.